Jeffrey Johnston, but I go by Jeff, and I'm the CEO and founder of Brighton.
What inspired you to create Brighton?
I'm 58 right now. When I was 50 is where I would consider myself reborn. This was a transcendence that happened in my life that a lot of us have. You live long enough, these things inevitably happen, but not always in the order that it happened in my life. At that time, I was running an investment firm, happily married to my wife Prudence, and my three boys, Seth, Ian, and Roman. Scooting along, living the good life, big house, fast car, running an investment firm, had a TV show, had a radio show. Looks like I had it all, right, Mike?
Yeah.
And I did until October 4th of 2016, and that's when everything really changed for me. Our oldest son, Seth, was found dead, poisoned by fentanyl. And that was really, my first introduction to not death, but certainly to fentanyl. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know what it was. And it was the end of Seth's life, but really it was the, kind of a beginning of mine in a way. And Seth had a long 7-year, just hellish, nightmarish experience with addiction and substance abuse. It started with an Adderall prescription when he was 15. And that's at least what I can kind of go back when I try to unwind it and unpack it and see kind of where this all started. It was, I took him in to see a doctor because the teachers at school was telling me that he wasn't paying attention, that he was disruptive, lack of focus. And I'm like, wow, that sounds like every 15-year-old American boy. But I did what parents do, you take him to the doctor, and out walked me with a bottle of Adderall. And then 7 years later, he died. But in between, was drunk driving, breaking and entering, cocaine, alcohol, marijuana, then ultimately prison, and was released, and then very quickly got back into the same circle he was in, and fentanyl. And so, that happened when I was 50, and at a time in my life when I thought I had it all figured out, and then death came into my life to remind me that I don't have it all figured out, and that I'm going to take somebody that you care about. What are you going to do about it? That's like the mindset I had at the time. And stop me anytime you want, Mike, and I can elaborate or I can fill in gaps.
No, keep going.
And so at that time, what everyone did know in my life, a lot of people that were close to me knew, but I was an alcoholic for 32 years. Had a 20-year gambling addiction as well. And when I say gambling addiction, it wasn't like I lost my house or I, stole money. I made a lot of money at a young age and I blew it all, not on drugs, but on pretty much everything else, alcohol, gambling, partying, going out and stuff. And so after Seth died, obviously I realized that, I need to start figuring out what I want to do with my life. So I stayed home for about a year and a half. I told my business partner I needed to figure out some stuff. And then I realized that my wife wasn't doing really good. And on December 17th or December 24th of 17, so like 14 months after Seth died, Mike, I quit drinking. I just decided I was going to stop. Never been to a meeting. I don't even call myself sober because that implies I'm in some mythical fight. I just don't drink. It's just like very pragmatic. And I quit to support my wife because I noticed after Seth died, she wasn't doing very well. She was 9 years younger than me, but I looked at her about a year and a half after Seth died, and she looked 9 years older than me. That's what her alcoholism and her smoking and her prescription pill addiction, grief and trauma, and you threw everything at her, and that's what she was. That's where she was. And so I thought stop drinking would help. Well, obviously it didn't. And on June 29th of 21, a day after our youngest turned 18, my wife died of alcoholism, grief, suffering, whatever you want to call it. So just in a matter of 5 years, I lost half my family. And married 21 years. They're both over my shoulder here. And so then death comes into my life 2 times now and says, all right, thought you had this, thought you were going to start doing something, I'm going to take someone else you care about. So me being, type A, competitive person. Now death became this adversary of mine. Initially, to the point where it almost cost me my life. And the Christmas my wife died, well, my mom died 4 months later, and then I sat my house, and I had a gun to my head all weekend, which I've shared publicly. And obviously I didn't do it, but I came really close. And so that is like where I'm at today. So you asked like what inspired Brighton. I decided that I needed to do something, before death takes someone else I care about or me, to change the world. And so I decided to start an app, which, again, there's multiple things I did preceding that. I did a podcast, I wrote a book, I did a tour around the country in an RV. I did all these just things that I just felt like I had to do. So the app kind of fell into my lap just as an idea that that's where kids are. That's where I need to meet them. They're not going to come to my house. They're not going to go to a Zoom meeting. I have to go where they are. They're on their phones. So when Seth died, my oldest son, Seth, which he'd have been 30 this year, 3 weeks after he died, his daughter was born, and her name is Brighton. So the inspiration for the app, Michael, came from all the crap I went through, and then the beautiful, like Phoenix rising from the ashes type story, that I wanted to name this initiative after my granddaughter. I'd spell it differently. And that was the idea behind Brighton, was that we want to brighten young minds, brighten young lives, brighten young hearts, and we want to change the world through empowerment, not prevention, not treatment, sending him to doctors to get more drugs. That's not my legacy, man. And that's it. I mean, that's where I'm at today. Every day is a fist fight for me. I'm not going to lie. I struggle. I have really good highs. I have really bad lows. I don't call myself depressed because I'm just sad a lot. And I allow myself to normalize it instead of pathologizing it. And the problem with our society today is you're not allowed to be sad. You're not allowed to be excited.
No.
You're depressed or you have anxiety. And I'm like, we need to stop. We need to stop doing this. The kids didn't invent the labels. The kids didn't invent DSM. They didn't invent diagnosis. They didn't invent prescription pills. They didn't invent social media or COVID. But they're the recipient of all this. And now we point the finger at them. Oh, they're on their phones too much. Oh, they're bipolar. Oh, they say, well, of course, we created all this for our convenience, So that's my mindset, that's where I'm at. So anyway, I'll stop yakking.
No, I like that. Actually, I have bipolar disorder too, and I was diagnosed only when I was 37.
Yeah.
So much later in life. How important is it to get, younger teens, adults, to understand their feelings?
Yeah, it's so important. And I didn't ask you, but do you go by Michael or Mike?
Either one is
Okay.
fine.
Well, your mom probably called you Michael when you were in trouble, but I'll call you Mike.
Yes, my mom calls me Michael. My wife calls me Mike.
Yeah, I was Jeffrey Andrew. Well, Mike, here's the deal. Why this is important is this. There's multiple reasons. One, Gen Z, which is young adults,
Yes,
14 to 26, basically. They're the largest generation in human history. There's never been a generation bigger than Gen Z. They represent 1/3 of the world's population today. And there's 2.56 billion humans fit within the Gen Z definition. So that's like why. First of all, it's a big group of humans. And the other reasons are pretty clear. They're statistically the most lost, anxious, depressed generation in human history. They lack a tremendous amount of meaning and purpose. They have a lot of financial insecurity, a lot of stress about the future, about money, about understanding how it works. Our obesity rates in the United States are like 60% of young adults are like clinically, because of their weight, are heavier than they should be. I hate the word obesity, but it's like, I'm actually underweight for my age because when I quit drinking, I lost like 50 pounds. So I'm like,
wow.
I'm probably underweight. I'm 145, which, I probably need to be about 155. But so I'm not certainly pointing fingers at anybody because I certainly have some issues with my weight. But the reality is, even if I was pointing fingers, we just need to stop being so sensitive and so like defensive. And it's like, look at the statistics, look at the numbers. I mean, we can't really have these conversations because you're shaming somebody all the time or you're not being sensitive enough. And I'm like, well, maybe all that got us to where we're at. I don't know. It's like, and so I'm just like perplexed on why we live in the most abundant, free knowledge out there. Everything you eat has a label on the back. I mean, this is a bottle of water and it's got a label on it. It's like, it's water.
Yeah.
Why is it? But it's like, so we know exactly what we're putting in our bodies, yet we're getting unhealthier by the minute.
Mm-hmm.
So do we need more labels, more definitions, more data, more research? No, we don't. We need more sunlight, less sugar, more exercise, less toxic relationships, more reading, more meditation. And everything I said there is pretty much free. It doesn't cost anything. But we don't utilize enough of these things. And so the idea behind Brighton was introducing this massive group, this tidal wave of really struggling young adults to this idea of mental wellness planning. Like mental wellness should be like brushing your teeth. It shouldn't be work. It shouldn't be something outside of you, like you go to the gym or you go do something, even go to an app. You shouldn't have to do that. It should just be internalized. It should be normalized. You're sad. Okay. You're happy. Okay. You're nervous. Okay. You're jealous. Okay. But you're Mike. I'm Jeff. Okay. That's it. I mean, that's as far as we have to go, but we don't. We're just overthinking this so much. And so I want to simplify this with kids, go back to basics, introduce them to some of these things that have been around for thousands of years, give them another arrow in the quiver, not another pill in the bottle, not another label. I'm sure there's a time and a place for that. I look at like ADHD is a really good one, Mike, because I have it. I've never been diagnosed with it. My dad was a doctor. He just said, Jeff, you're hyper. You're type A. You're intense. But my dad never gave me Ritalin. I wrote in my book in 1990, there was, I think, 300,000 prescription stimulants given out to children or young adults in the United States. So think about this for a minute. 1990, it was 300,000. By 2011, so what, 2 decades?
Yeah.
It's 3.5 million. Is that a kid problem? There you go. It's like, duh. It's like, okay, when is somebody going to start presenting the way this really is? So I think we all have ADHD. Some it's a 1, some it's a 10. For me, it's like a 7. Some it's funny. It's humorous when I can't find my coffee and I have 5 coffee cups around my house simultaneously because I can't find them. Or I repeat the same thing at a meeting because I wasn't paying attention because someone texted me and I got distracted. Other times it's dangerous. You're driving, you're on your phone. You get in, so it's like, yeah, so everybody's a spectrum. I think everybody, most of these things, sadness is a spectrum. We call it depression. It's like, I'm just like, let's challenge the status quo. Let's maybe go back to looking at this a little bit differently. Or we continue doing what we've been doing and expect just miraculously things to change. I don't think they're going to.
When I was doing my research, what I found fascinating about the app is you do talk about finance and stuff. And I never thought of finance as being one of the factors of mental health, but it really is.
It was the elephant in the room.
Yeah.
I was doing recon after I did the tour around the country, that 20,000-mile journey, 95 days in the RV. I got back and I thought, okay, if I were to build from scratch, like the perfect young adult, right? This was my mental test I was doing. So I get to be the creator for a day, and I have this piece of whatever you call it, clay, and I'm going to make this perfect young adult. What would I focus on? In other words, what are like the top 3 things or 3 areas that people really stress in? And in the investment world, like I did previously, those are like asset classes. It's like, what would be the asset classes in investing? You'd have stocks, bonds, real estate. You diversify your money. We don't do that with mental health. We don't do that. Everything's episodic. Everything's, oh, I have 3 kids. I'm going to cross my fingers. None of them have a problem. But if one does, wow, I'm going to run him to the doctor. I'm going to chase him to, the pediatrician. I'm going to get a gym membership. I'm going to, it's like take him to church. It's like, all of a sudden you're putting out fires with thimbles. You're putting out forest fires with thimbles full of water. And so I thought, okay, if I could build that perfect young adult, what would my mental wellness asset classes be, right? What would I diversify in? You can't go to the gym 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's not diversification on your mental health, and you can't meditate for 9 hours a day every day. You got to balance it out. So for me, the asset classes were health, wealth, and purpose. And where wealth came into play, obviously that was my career for 32 years, but the big thing about wealth was 2 statistics. Forbes magazine came out with a study that said the number one stressor for older Gen Z, 18 to 26, was financial insecurity. So lack of knowledge of money, not financial stress, like they don't have money, but they were just lacking the knowledge, like a healthy relationship. What is a credit score? What is debt? What is bankruptcy? What is tax deferral? How's a Roth work? So, it wasn't about teaching them how to make money. TikTok could do that for you. Well, they do it the wrong way too, because they gaslight you and you compare it to other kids that are doing better, and so you feel like crap. So that's not the way you learn about money, by watching other people make it. It's more of just learning the basics, like building a house, the foundations, And then the other statistic was 77% of American adults are paycheck to paycheck. So 80% of American adults have no net worth. So here's a group of kids growing up telling us that their number one stress is financial insecurity, and 80% of these kids are in households that probably end up fighting about money or can't experience the things that other kids can do, So I thought a healthy relationship with money needs to be a core tenet in the Brighton experience for our thrivers, along with health, along with purpose. Those are our 3 tenets.
And you talked also about having a podcast, which that's awesome. Podcasts are cool.
Yeah, I like them.
But what is it like talking to people who, have either similar experiences or trying to get their own voice out there?
Good question. Very rewarding. Gives me a sense of purpose. I probably early on used to share my story, to be honest with you, because I wanted someone to come up and hug me. I wanted someone to donate to my nonprofit, or I wanted somebody to give me sympathy or pity just for attention. But that quickly changed, especially after my wife died. Then I realized that ship has kind of sailed for me. It's like I burned that bridge and sank that ship, the sympathy and pity and misery and all that. So now I share the story because it gives the listeners permission to share their stories. And through vulnerability, we can build new foundations and new futures. But I'm not going to do it by sitting here with you talking about how great my life is. Oh, Mike, by the way, how great's your life? Oh, let's compare how great our lives are. And then people listening to us going, well, my life's not great. Why can't I be like Mike? Why can't I be like Jeff? And I'm like, you know what? Nobody has a great life.
No.
Nobody does. Nobody does. LeBron James has things in his life we don't know about. Maybe in his childhood. We don't know. We think we know. And then you see Anthony Bourdain kill himself, or Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. He's got his show, He's famous. He's one of the greatest comedians of all time. How could he kill himself? Well, there you go. That's how he can kill himself, because he's human.
Yeah.
And we dehumanize our mentors, people we look up to. So I know people look up to me. I understand that. I have a living undeterred brand. I'm the CEO of an app. Lost half my family, had a gun to my head. So what? It doesn't make me any better than you, and my story is a little more intense. Maybe not. Maybe you have just as equal intense story, but you're just not comfortable sharing it. So that's okay. But I have found that in me letting my guard down, becoming intimately vulnerable quickly, people's shoulders kind of drop. They get comfortable. They get relaxed. Oh, I'm happy you brought that up because I really wanted to share a story about my brother, got in a car accident, and then I'm all ears because they listen to me. And then a half-hour relationship feels like 5 years. And then you hug, you go home, you get a text, how you doing? And these are real relationships. These are authentic relationships. And that's the circle of humans I've surrounded myself around now, versus not criticizing the circle of humans I had before. There was a lot of just fake. There was a lot of pretentious. There was a lot of, you know how it goes, And I was completely guilty of that's when I said I was reborn. I don't know what your spirituality or religious feelings or all that, but for me it was like I'm not religious, but I'm very spiritual. Feel very connected, even to you, to everybody I talk with. But for me it was like I literally have been reborn, at least 2 times in my life, where I can look at pictures of me I just saw 3 years ago and that person looks dead. Like that person, who the hell is that person? Like I don't know. It's like I've expunged a lot of the memories of my life previously because it's, it just brings back a lot of painful memories of what transpired. But then there's a lot of beautiful things too. So it's all about lessons, Mike. It's all about, I make posts frequently on LinkedIn and Facebook, every day, some type of a reframing of a situation, making it, like today my post was about, you deserve to go buy a cat. You deserve to have that $8 latte. You deserve to blow off a meeting. You deserve to cancel an appointment. You deserve to start a new relationship. It's like we all deserve a better life, but it ain't going to just show up at our front door. We're going to have to put the work in. You're going to have to make the sacrifice. For me, for the app, I've sacrificed a lot. In 2 years, I haven't done 10, 14-hour days for 2 years. I don't have weekends. I mean, tonight I end my night at like 9 o'clock tonight. I'm going to a presentation at 7. It's like, and then tomorrow I start all over again. So it's like, but it's a choice I made. I'm like addicted in a way, although I don't have any really negative, there are some negative consequences for what I do. And I have to be very careful about my mental health because I check all the boxes. I'm not going to lie to you. The highest suicide rate in the United States percentage year over year is white middle-aged men. It's me. So, and I've been there. So I know exactly I'm susceptible to going back there. So what does a clinician say? Oh, Jeff, you have suicidal ideation. I don't know what I have. I'm me. I'm just Jeff. Call me whatever you want to call me. I don't really care. Are there days I don't want to live? Yeah. So what the hell is that? I don't really care what you call me. But I know now that that's part of who I am, and it will be the rest of my life. I certainly don't want to die today because I have a lot of great things to do in my life, and we're on the way to doing some really big things with the app. So it's like, I got to stay healthy. I got to exercise. I don't want to drink. I don't smoke. I don't watch any TV. I don't follow politics. It's like I check all the boxes to stay alive, And for me, it's more of trying to get myself to understand life is worth living. It's not that death is worth avoiding. So it's not like I'm trying to avoid death. I'm trying to live life. Before, when I had a gun to my head, I didn't want to live. I didn't want to die. Who wants to die? I just didn't want to live. Well, now I want to live. So, but it's hard. It's work. I'm telling anyone that's watching this right now, it's work. I just don't wake up and I'm Mr. Living Undeterred and I'm this founder of this tech CEO company thing and I'm this big shot. No, I am my own worst critic, like most of us are. That monkey mind, they call it. How you can quiet that mind. Well, let me reframe that. I don't think we want to quiet the mind. I think we just want to observe it, be attentive to it, and then watch it just die a slow death. Whatever thoughts you have typically go away. It's that concept of impermanence that I learned through my meditation practice. That even the worst moment I've ever had in my entire life, I've made it to your podcast. I made it. So what makes me think I can't survive the next? I can. That's the mindset you have to have. That's the attitude you have to have. It's like, show me anybody my age that hasn't had something bad happen. Your friends die, relatives die, pets die. So to be 58 and be naive and think, well, man, all this death. Well, yeah, of course, because you lived to be 58, dude. My dad's 92. Everybody he knows is gone. And I learned that gratitude from my dad. Instead of me feeling sorry for him, sitting at home watching football games, I try to go over and see him as much as I can. My dad's attitude is, I had great relationships with all these people. Sure, he's lonely. Who wouldn't be lonely at 92? Give him some grace. Give him some mercy. But I've learned a lot from people like my dad who's, my son could have died at 15, Mike. He died at 23. I met a mom yesterday. Her name's Jill from Naperville. Her son Max took his own life at 15. Well, Seth was 23. I had 8 extra years than she did. Who am I to complain? People lose babies. I was married 21 years with my wife. People lose their spouses the year they get married. So there's a lot more for me to be grateful for than there is to sit around and have a pity party. But when I do have pity parties, I have damn good ones. I do. I invite all the negative friends I have in my head and we have a bash. But I know I'm going to come out of it the other end. I know I'm going to come out of it stronger. When you're in the middle of it, it's like when you walk into the gym, you're like, oh shit, I got to do this again for another 2 hours. But when you walk out and you get in your car and you sit down and you go, man, I feel so good. When have you ever had a hard cry, Mike, and felt worse? It's not possible. Yeah. So I know that in advance of my suffering. So now I just welcome it. I just let it happen. I don't drown it in alcohol or gambling. I just let it happen. And it, some perverse way, can be beautiful. Suffering can be, that battery charge. It's like plugging in that Tesla that's on energy. You go and plug it in. Well, that's kind of what grief and suffering and trauma is for me. It just recharges my batteries. But I certainly don't enjoy being in the middle of it. But I know it's not going to last forever. So it's perspective, I guess, gratitude, preparation, expectations, community. My circle of humans in my life is amazing. Very, very fortunate. But I wouldn't have them if I didn't share my story either. Think about that. If I just sat down here and told nobody how I feel, I'd probably have half the close people I have in my life right now that really care about me. There's something awesome about that, man.
What do you do to help your own mental health?
Okay. I may be a little OCD or odd on this, but this is my daily routine. So this is 5 days a week. 2 days I just do whatever the hell I want, and it could be a Tuesday. It doesn't have to be the weekends. I get up really early. I'm like 4:30 most mornings. I meditate anywhere from half an hour to 45 minutes. The first thing I do when I get up, let my dog out, play with my cats a little bit. I sit up in the dark, so I don't turn any lights on. I love the dark. Put my headphones on, put my mask on. I go through a guided meditation. Sometimes it's 15 minutes, and then if I feel like I'm really in the zone, I just refresh it and do another 15 minutes. And sometimes it can be 2 hours, if I'm really into it. And then I'll have like a full strong cup of coffee, and then I'll go to my writing. So I go write for some social media post I'm going to make. So some topic I dreamt about or thought about. I take that back. The very first thing I do is I journal. So on the Brighton app, we have journaling, AI-friendly journaling. So I go into my Brighton app, open up the app, I go into the self-guided journaling, and then I just dialogue with the AI. So if I had a really intense dream, or if I had a negative thought, or a destructive thought, or if I had a positive thought, like, man, I'm happy to be on Michael's podcast today, I can throw out a question, and then the AI will ask me more questions, and I just go back and forth, and then I do an entry reflection, which kind of pins it. And then that's my journal entry. So I get a point for the day, because everything in our app is gamified. So as you're doing your mental wellness work, you get points, which we're going to figure out ways to cash those in later, like plant a tree or things like that. So I do that, and then I do my meditation, then I have a strong coffee, then I just write. I sit in the dark, and I get my computer out, and I don't go to the news. I don't go to Instagram or TikTok or anything. I just write. I like to write. And then when I write, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's half an hour, I structure it into some type of a post, and then I'll go into LinkedIn, and then I'll make a post about something inspirational. And occasionally I throw in, a sad thing about my son or my wife, but I try to stay really away from just every day being that guy that posts pictures of his dead family. I don't want that to be like what I'm known for, but I guess sometimes sprinkling in, the fact that, drugs were involved in alcohol. Maybe there's a lesson in there I can share with people so they can get off drugs or they can get off alcohol, but I don't want to do it to be like disparaging to my family either. And so that's that. And then typically I go through my day. So I'll do Zooms or I'll, whatever, maybe take a nap. And then in the afternoon I work out. So I get on my elliptical, run 5 to 7 miles. I'll put on a documentary or some show and I'll watch TV while I'm working out. Then I do like 3 sets of light weights. So just, curls and squats and things, nothing extreme. I'm doing all this basically for injury prevention. Like I don't want to look in the mirror and be all bulky. That's not why I'm working out. I'm working out so my tendons are stretched and my back feels good and I sleep better. It's more for just prevention. So I don't walk down the stairs and pull a hamstring or something. I want to be flexible. Then I go back to work. I shower and I work in my house. This is my studio right here. This is where all my work is done. I work for a couple more hours, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. Sometimes I pitch the app to investors. Sometimes I do podcasts. And then 8:00, I go up in my bed and I typically get my computer in my lap and I finish up things emails, last minute emails and stuff. And by 9, everything's shut off and I start to go to sleep. That's 5 days a week. It's pretty boring, but I don't ever want to sit in that spot in my closet with my gun to my head. And if I take shortcuts, if I don't do these things, I'll be back there. And maybe next time I do it. I don't know. I just don't want to find out. So that's why I'm very OCD about this, because it's more than anything. It's keeping me alive. It's that critical to me. For other people, they're doing it for whatever. For me, it's literally life and death. It's literally life and death for me. So that's my routine.
How does it feel for you to be helping the younger generation with the app?
It's great. I get 5 to 7 texts a day from young adults, even parents, that will share their journal entries. So when you get on your app and you make your entries, when you do the entry reflection, there's a share tab. So what we're trying to create is with, say, alcoholics, they have a sponsor, right? So Mike, you're my sponsor. I feel like I'm going to drink today. Well, I'm going to just text Mike, hey, you around? Yeah, we jump on the phone, we talk, and you basically talk me off the ledge, right? It works well. Narcotics Anonymous does it too. Well, I thought to myself, why don't we have a Brighton buddy? Why don't we have young adults teach them this idea of having a sponsor, a mental wellness sponsor, though?
Yeah.
And so maybe it's a therapist, maybe it's your dad, maybe it's your best friend that is a similar situation, maybe it's your girlfriend. I don't know. It's not my job to pick that person. But we all have, right now, if you had something you had to tell somebody, Mike, terrible news, or you were just considering something awful, I bet you could write down on a piece of paper 1 or 2 people you could call right now or at midnight, and they'd answer the phone, or they would get back with you as soon as they could. Yeah. Right? We all do. Well, on the app, what we're trying to do is get kids to think that way, identify these people in advance, and then that becomes your Brighton buddy. So for me, it's been really rewarding to get these reflections from kids, and then I send mine. I make a journal entry, I send it to them, and they're like, wow, that's pretty cool. Jeff really feels that way. I wouldn't see that. When talking to him, he sounds like he's got his stuff together. I didn't know he has these issues. And all this does is just make us all realize that we're all in the same boat. We all have different paddles. We're all kind of paddling different directions, but we're all in the same boat. We're not in canoes by ourselves fighting this current. We're in this huge boat. And the sooner we can all kind of paddle in the same direction, all support each other, we'll get to where we want to go quicker and safer. And if we get off course, we can paddle together in the right direction, kind of get back on course. That's my mind. How when I built the Brightn app was creating this platform where we're all in this together. And if you're struggling, you're not alone. And it's okay. And we're not going to label you. You know, you're just Mike. And I'm just Jeff. And that's it. And we can certainly help each other. And that was the idea. So back to your question, it is so rewarding, you know, in all the middle of the self-doubt and wondering if the app's going to survive. And I got investors and, you know, it's like, you know, all that pressure.
Yeah.
I get a random text at 10 o'clock at night. Hey, Jeff, this AI's really saved my life. Here's my reflection today. What do you think? And I'm like, oh, man, if my investors could just see this, if the people that don't think this is going to work could just see this,
yeah,
you know, it's monumental in my well-being. You know, I just got to find more kids that can experience it. That's the dream. That's the ultimate goal, is to get this in the hands of more young adults, more parents. We're finding a lot of adults using the app now. In the last 30 days, we have an equal amount of adults on the app. And I think it's because this AI that we introduced with the journaling is really fun. It's kind of cool to just throw any question out. And then we've trained the AI, you know, not to be confrontational. It's not judgmental. You actually can set your personality. So you can say you're pragmatic, you're empathetic, and when you go through your little profile, the AI then will reframe questions based on kind of your personality.
Wow.
Pretty cool. I know, it's wow.
Yeah.
And this is all fairly new. The app's been out we launched 2 years ago, but we did it what's called an MVP. We just kind of threw a clunky app out there just to get data, which we got a lot of data back. And then a year ago was like our actual launch. And then about a month ago, we came out with our memberships. So the industry calls them subscriptions. I don't like that because people look at that as an expense. We call them memberships. So people look at it as an investment. You know, you're more likely to do something if you think it's an investment in your health versus an expense.
So where do you want to see the app in the next 3 to 5 years?
In the hands of those 2.56 billion humans around the planet. You know, it would be tempting for me to say something like that. Realistically, I know that's not going to happen. I don't think I need to do that to change the world. I think I can get it in the hands of 1% of the 2.56 billion, or 1/10 of 1%. I think I can change the world. I say we, I meant we. This is not about Jeff Johnston. This is a we narrative, you know, not a me narrative. And the thing that really keeps me going, Mike, and I'll be real honest with you, the hour that you and I talk, okay, 137 people in the United States are going to die from the deaths of despair, alcohol, overdose, suicide. So in the 1 hour you and I converse, 137 families are going to get that phone call that I got on October 4th, 2016, and again on June 29, 2021. An hour. And think of the brothers like Seth and Ian, and the husbands like Jeff, and the moms and dads, and the nieces and nephews, and the granddaughters like Brighton. On one death, imagine 137 every hour. It's like something has to give. We can't have this collateral damage ripple effect throughout, you know, the world, literally. I'm just talking about the United States with 137. But so the question is, do we double down and just keep doing more of what we're doing and add a zero behind that? Or do we just start changing the way we've been doing things and make things better? I'm on the second road, you know, and I ask people to join me. That's kind of my mindset.
I like that road too. It's an important one.
Yeah.
With, you know, the horrible events that has happened, how important was it for you to have a strong support system?
Support system's huge. Initially, I think people were afraid to talk to me. What do you say to someone that lost their child? Especially a lot of these people have sons and daughters that were my son's friends. Plus, they witnessed what I went through. They were there when I was dealing with all this stuff, and my family was, and obviously Seth was too. So I think initially they were like, God, what do you say to Jeff? I'm sorry, hugs and prayers, thoughts, we're thinking of you. And that was like early on, you got this tremendous like flood of support, Mike. Like literally people bringing casseroles over and food. But what happens is people go back to their lives, which we all do eventually. And then you're left by yourself or with your family, and that's all you have. That's all we all have at the end of the day. Is you. And so I went through lots of cycles of like tremendous amount, like almost like I was getting too much love. I needed to step back and maybe just leave me alone for a little while. And then now it's evolved into it's more consistent. It's not like coming in big droves. It's every day I get support. I mean, it's almost 1:00 here in Iowa. I bet I've had 10 conversations already today. I had a coffee, came back, a Zoom, a couple phone calls, a couple injury reflections sent to me. And it's like 1:00. And I've already had 10 really good things happen today. That's more than a lot of people can say. I'm very lucky in that regard. And then the rest of the day, I got some other really cool activities that are going to be very supportive to me. So having a support system is very strong. But again, I built it. I kind of built it.
Yeah.
I didn't sit and wait. Because if you sit and wait, you're going to be waiting for a long time. People have lives. I tell my kids all the time, most people really don't care about you. And I don't mean that mean. But they don't. They have their own problems. They have their own stresses. They have their own things going on. And, it takes a very rare person to make that call to somebody out of the blue saying, hey, I'm not asking you for anything, but I just want to see how you're doing. That's a rare human being to do that. And when you get that call, when someone calls you, that's special. That's true. That's really authentic support. And I have a number of people that check in on me literally daily. Like when I say daily, I say 3, 4, 5 times a day. And sometimes it's a post I make and they're worried about me. Hey, Jeff, I saw your post. Are you okay? I don't know. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. I don't lie to people. It's like, if you ask me if I'm okay and I'm not, I'm going to tell you. I know I'm not okay. I can't promise you something horrific's not going to happen. I'm not going to lie to you. And that pure authenticity cements strong relationships. I don't want to be an emotional vampire on people. Oh shit, here comes Jeff. He's going to talk about offing himself again. It's like, no, I don't want to be that guy. But I think if there's a healthy balance of laughter and gratitude and suffering and trauma and reframing, it's who I am. It's like, if someone doesn't like it, then they probably won't be around me very long. But I certainly have added more people in my life than I've lost in the last 8 years. So I know me sharing has been a magnet for a lot of reasons. And it's helped me. This conversation with you has helped me. I've been able to extrapolate a piece of something out of every conversation, whether it's somebody who's critical or doubtful, or there's still value in even a crude statement or a lack of confidence. There's value in that. For me, it just motivates me. And someone says, your app's not going to make it. What happens if you lose all your money? I said, dude, I've lost half my family. What's money? It's like, I almost killed myself. What's money? You can't play that game with me. So I wouldn't say that. That's mean. But I'm thinking it.
Yeah.
It's like, really? You're asking me, what if I lose my money? Really? You don't understand what I'm going through, man. You have no idea what I'm going through. If that's what you think I'm worried about. Yeah, of course I don't want to be destitute. But I've lost a lot more than money can ever replace in my life. So there's your answer on that. But yeah, support's huge. Anybody suffering, make sure that you also can provide support, Mike. It isn't all about taking and taking and taking. You know, I want to walk into any environment and I want to leave more nuggets of wisdom or inspirational quotes or a story than I want to take. You know, maybe I do the majority of the talking, but I think I leave everybody with something where they go, wow, I'm happy I had this conversation with Jeff today, even though he cried and it's hard, but I'm going to go hug my kids because they're still here. That's a win-win, you know, or I'm going to write that book. I'm going to do that podcast, you know, I'm going to call that guy I've been afraid to call to see if he wants to partner with me on a project, or that investor that I'd love to have him invest, but I'm afraid he's going to say no. You know, every no you get in your life, you're closer to a what? A yes. You can't get no's forever. It's not possible. It's not mathematically possible. I learned that in sales when I was young, selling insurance door to door. My boss used to say, just if you're getting 10 no's, you're just not, you know, if you're not getting a yes, you're just not getting enough no's. So
Right.
just get more no's. Simple math. So like in my app, if I can't find someone to invest in the app, I'm just not asking enough people. It's not the app. It's not me. As I'm just not putting enough people in the funnel. So if I want to change the world, I'm not going to do it with 100 people using my app. So I got to go find more people. And I don't do that sitting at home feeling sorry for myself. So it's like, it's there for the taking, and I don't mean that in a greedy way. But it's there. The success of anything I do is really there for me to go do it. And then fight against the negative self-talk, which we all have, me included. That's what makes us human, is that struggle. I mean, would you really want to take a pill and take everything away and just be a cyborg? I sure in hell wouldn't, man. You could say, Jeff, here's a pill, and every anxiety, every nervousness, every negative emotion, everything that makes you human will go away if you take this pill. For me, man, I'm not sure I take it. Now, do I want a couple hours of that? Yeah, but would I want to never have fear? No, not me. I don't want to be a robot. You might as well kill me then. Well, what joy in life would be if you didn't experience pain and suffering? That's what makes the joy so much more valuable. You know, that's why when you get that yes, and you've had 100 no's, that yes feels like a grand slam, because it took a lot of work to get to that yes. Well, that's like anything in life. It's not easy. You know, if it was easy, everyone would be, well, we wouldn't have these mental health issues if it was easy, right?
Yeah. So how can people reach out to you and learn more?
Well, my email is jeff@brightnapp.com. And so JEFF and then Brighton spelled BRIGHTNAPP.com. Our website is www.brightenapp.com. And we have hoodies and t-shirts and greeting cards. Like if you have a friend that's struggling, you can send them a cool card. So yeah, our merch line is becoming really popular. And right now the app we have a 7-day and a 14-day free trial, Mike. But if you can look at mental wellness as an investment in your life, then the app doesn't have a paywall. If you look at mental wellness as an expense, then the app has a paywall. So 20 cents a day is what it comes up to having the app. And if you just went to a Starbucks and just pulled up a chair and got a piece of paper and sat down, and look how many people between 14 and 26 that are buying $6, $7, $8 Cocoa Puff, cold pressed Asian Zing. You know, I don't know what names you have, but there you go. You know, they're just not conditioned to think of mental wellness as an investment. And I say this all the time. What good is all the other things in life if you're a train wreck, if your mental health isn't there? So how can it not be an investment? So we as a society have to stop looking at something like a $6.95, subscription cost to an app as a fee. How is investing in your mental health a fee? You know, if you buy a gym membership and you don't go, it's an expense. If you buy a gym membership and go 5 days a week, it's an investment. If you buy healthy food and empty your fridge and fill it up with healthy food and then you order DoorDash every night, that healthy food's an expense. Well, why would buying an app be any different? You buy an app to help your mental health and you never use it? Well, yeah, you just proved it's an expense. If you buy it and use it every day like a lot of kids do, it's an investment. So it's like your choice. What story you want to tell yourself? My job is to convince people that it's an investment. That's my passion, and I think we can do that because it is. I'm not manipulative. I'm not lying to them. It is an investment in your well-being and human flourishing. And 20 cents a day, I mean, it's almost comical how low cost our entry point is on the app. It really is. I mean, 20 cents a day. I mean, you could go into your parents' car in the seats and find 20 cents and set it in a piggy bank each day, and that pays for your app membership. I mean, it's without stealing the money. Or take cans to the can shed once a month. That pays for your member. It's like you have to work. None of this stuff's just going to happen. You're not just going to wake up and have joy and peace in your life. I mean, it's not going to happen. I hate to tell you that, but it's not how life works. You've got to put the time in, like anybody, athlete, actor, musician. You look at your podcast, what you do. You know how long you put time in, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you and I were supposed to meet a while ago, and I forgot about the meeting. So, I mean, and here you are. Give me a chance to come back, and I'm grateful for that. But it's like you put the time in, and it's like that'll pay off. It has to.
I hope so. Yeah.
It will. It will. If you have this unwavering sense of confidence that you're doing the right thing and you're helping people, which I think this conversation, if I heard this conversation, I didn't know anything about you or me, I would think, wow, this is a good conversation. These are the conversations I like to be a fly on the wall. We weren't talking about Trump. We weren't talking about, state abortion. We weren't talking about gun rights. We weren't talking about, we're talking about stuff that's really, not that those things aren't important, but it's like our conversation is just really human. It's just like
it's something you deal with every day. I mean, those are high up issues. I just want to know more about a person than that stuff.
I know, me too. But we get so distracted with all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's pitched at us like 24/7, No, but I really admire what you do. Anyone that does a podcast, I think is adding value to society because I think podcasts right now, long form interviews like this are very popular.
Yeah.
I mean, look when Trump went on Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
How much that had on the election, especially with younger kids that may have been not sure yet who they're going to vote for, and one candidate goes on, the biggest podcast in history, and the other one doesn't for whatever reason. A lot of kids are like, well, I'll just vote for the one that went. That shows that they care. It's like that's the mindset of like a 17-year-old, or not 17, but like a 20-year-old. So these type of formats are really popular, and I listen to podcasts all day long. I really like them.